All right, continuing on this Tuesday night on Open Line, a special edition as we bring you the full interview, sit-down interview I conducted with former Mayor Karl last week here at News Channel 5. Gave up some of his time to come in and talk about his 8 years in office. Of course, he was a regular guest here on Open Line. Usually the first Wednesday of each month we had the mayor here to take your phone calls, and we hope to continue to do that as we wait for Mayor Barry to get settled in with her transition team. And we'll be reaching out to her to come on regularly and speak with you, the viewers. Great opportunity for you. Not many other metropolitan cities have an opportunity for the viewers to just call in and speak directly with their mayor. So we're glad to be able to bring that to you. Talk to the mayor, as you saw in that last segment, a little bit about the flood. We continue the conversation about the flood. We also talked to him about some of the bumps in the road he faced. Not all of his projects got off the ground, and also some of the criticisms from the mayoral candidates this past year. Let's listen to what Karl had to say about that.
Yeah. Back to the campaign a little bit. You know, it was a lot of great candidates running, wanting to be mayor of this great city. Why did you not endorse anyone? Why not get involved there and pick a candidate and endorse him?
Well, I think historically the mayor of Nashville has not done that. That's been the practice that's been followed ever since I've been paying attention to it. Mayor Purcell didn't, Mayor Bredesen didn't, and so forth. And I think when you're mayor, and these campaigns last a long time, I mean, they go on for, it seemed like a year. You still have your job to do. You have a nonpartisan job to do. And you're the mayor of everybody. And so I don't know, I think the tradition really comes from the mayor just needs to do his or her job and continue to focus on the city and let the campaign and the people in Nashville decide who the next mayor is going to be.
Were you surprised that this race and the runoff became really kind of a partisan race? We hadn't seen that before really in Nashville in the mayor's race.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it doesn't happen again. I think one of the things that Nashville has been blessed with, we have a great charter. We have this wonderful system of metro government that has really helped us. It's really made Nashville a stronger economic unit and has made us a much more appealing city. And I think having nonpartisan elections at the local level, and remember, these elections occur when nothing else has happened, so you're not like getting involved in state politics or federal politics. It's all about Nashville, and that's what the election should be about. And so the rhetoric in terms of partisanship, I think in the future, hopefully will not reoccur, but you have no control over that.
The city still has some bills to pay, and that was brought up in the campaign. How do you feel about that and some of the money we owe?
Well, I think it's clear that we can handle that. You know, I came into office with a certain amount of reserves. I'm going to leave office with more reserves. We have very manageable debt. We have made investments in the city that has resulted in further investments from the private sector in the city. We have an expanding tax base by any definition. I mean, we have a growing population. We have a growing business community. We have you know, a strong real estate market. Yeah. So financially, I think the city's in very good shape.
You're going to go back to being a private citizen, and with all this growth, just like the rest of us, we're concerned about the traffic.
Right.
How big of an issue do you think that's going to be for the next mayor? And you've talked a lot about regional. It's a regional issue, but...
Well, it's both. I mean, I think when I look at Nashville's future, in terms of Nashville's place, leaving the region out of it for a moment, if Nashville can get transit right, that makes Nashville even stronger. I mean, it makes it much more appealing for people to live here. It makes it much more appealing for people to invest here, if you can get around and there's a high quality of life. So that is key for the city. Regionally, and I think it's important for the next mayor, and I think she will, Megan will do very well, but regionally, you got to think regionally, because you know the boundaries between counties only mean something mostly to politicians and taxpayers. I mean, what they mean though is this is a dynamic region that is one of the best in the country, and the more regional cooperation there is, and the more regional planning, particularly in terms of transit, the better. But transit is a key issue. I think, you know, when I ran for mayor in '07, I talked about transit, and people weren't really all that interested in it. 8 years later, it's one of the top issues. Right. So I think we've moved the ball along.
You talk a lot about change with schools, and you know, Nashville has there are some in Nashville who are a little reluctant to change. They're afraid we're going to lose the character of our great city. But obviously we have to change and grow in different areas. You pushed a plan for transit. And were you surprised at the pushback that you got and the criticism?
No, I mean, if you look at the history of transit in different cities, the first time out of the chute, that's what you go through.
Yeah.
And I think you could look at most cities, that's what's happened. But you go through an education process where you talk about it. And I think now that there is a heightened interest in the issue, and there'll be a better chance of success the next time around. We invested a lot in buses too. I mean, we basically 115% increase in the MTA's budget. But I think change is just hard. But change, you got to remember, the mayor can't say we're not going to change.
Yeah.
And we're not going to have new restaurants, or we're not going to have different people moving in, or we're not going to do this and that. Change is going to happen, and either you embrace it and you make it a positive, or it happens in a way that feels negative. But change is going to happen, and change is good. Nashville is a more diverse city. That's good. Nashville is a growing economy. That's good. And those things involve change, and we should accept it and embrace it.
So do you think that AMP will be back, or some version of it?
Well, I think there'll be some version. I'm sure they'll rename it, but and I don't know what corridor it goes down or what form it takes. But I think everybody would agree that mass transit needs to be part of Nashville's future, and I think that will happen, and I think it will happen relatively quickly, that people will be focused on that issue.
Do you, is it customary do you leave a note in the desk for the next mayor, so the way the presidents do in the Oval Office? I mean, what kind of advice or message of encouragement do you give Megan Barry?
Well, I'll leave her something, and I know Megan well. We worked together for 8 years, and I knew her before that, so we have a very good relationship. And I guess the role of a former mayor, which I am about to be, is to be supportive and to be as helpful as you can be. And if asked for advice, I'll give it, and if not asked for advice, I'll worry about the Red Sox.
And Belmont.
And I'm looking forward to teaching. I'm really looking forward to being at Belmont. I'm going to teach history, political science. It'll be a lot of fun to read history books and talk about history. And so that's going to be a good challenge, and I'm looking forward to that.
Looking forward to Italy?
I'm looking forward to Italy. I'm going to take a little vacation after I'm done.
So last thing, what do you say about to the people of Nashville? I know you're grateful. You were reelected overwhelmingly 4 years ago. Just about your experience and the honor of serving a city like this.
What I've tried to say over the last couple of months is just thank you. This has been an incredible honor. And I can't think of a greater honor that I could ever have received, or that I ever will receive. This is a wonderful city. It's a special city, and I think it's a city that really has a fantastic future. I say all the time that Nashville's best days are still to come, and I believe that. And that is not something every mayor says. And so it has been a pleasure and an honor to serve, and I've really enjoyed it. For all those out there, young people thinking of someday of politics and running for mayor, definitely do it. It is the most satisfying job you can imagine, because you get to work on real things, you get to see results, and you get to work for a really special community. So I wouldn't change it for anything. I've loved every minute of it. I really have. I'm going to miss it.
So there it is, my full interview with former Mayor Karl Dean last week here at News Channel 5. A guy who came to Nashville from the Boston area way back when, around 1980, I believe, to go to Vanderbilt Law School, met his wife, Ann Davis, here, and stayed here and has raised his family here. Went into public service as a public defender, and then on to be the legal director under Mayor Bill Purcell, and then ran for mayor in 2005. And then, of course, 4 years later, in 2011, overwhelmingly won re-election. I think up over 70%. Folks supported him. Of course, his leadership during the 2010 flood certainly helped in that matter. But you heard him there talking about that and really deflecting any of the praise to Metro workers and the folks, the residents of Nashville, for responding so quickly to the floods of 2010. Karl Dean now going to Belmont. What remains to be seen is, will he ever return to public service, perhaps run for United States Senate, maybe run for governor of Tennessee someday? Who knows? Pat Nolan knows a lot, though, and he talked with Mayor Karl Dean as well. You see Pat here every Friday night on Inside Politics, and he talked with Mayor Dean a number of times over the years. And coming up next for our final segment tonight, we're going to show you some of his interview with Mayor Karl Dean from Inside Politics. Stay with us. We'll be right back with a special edition of Open Line right after this.